Welcome back to another reaction. Today, an adventurous daily grind at age 29. No idea. Could be interesting, could be trash. Don't have high hopes with all the other shows I already watched. Still, could be interesting. You can do a lot of stuff with that. So let's see. Are we getting the intro right or opening? Okay, no. Is that a gun? No. That is a pipe. Isekai. So this looks like an a pipe. It is a pipe. Yeah, I don't know what you expected. You are a child. I'm assuming you are not very smart. Because if you fight an animal, especially one that is bigger, always go for the eyes. Always the eyes. It's one of those weak points that is very hard to, uh, you know, to protect or defend for, especially as an animal. Because you don't know the height or the muscles, the bone structure. Eyes, always easy. I do wonder, because another weak point would be the balls. If it's a, male. I don't know. Do animals react similar to man? If they get hit in the balls? Because that would be an option as well. It's all about making yourself as difficult to hunt as possible. It's not defeating whatever hunts you, it is to make it seem very difficult. That would then discourage them from attacking you. Because the most important thing for an animal, apart naturally if they are starving, it doesn't work. But if they want to hunt, they want to incur the least potential injuries. That is why you shouldn't run away with your back turned to most animals. You should slowly back up. Because whenever they see your face, they see you have your front at them, because the back is always the one that is the most vulnerable. The belly first, but the back second. Whenever you look at an animal, they are a lot more cautious because you can retaliate. And injuries, very dangerous in the wild. That is why, make yourself as difficult as possible to eat. What the fuck happened? What? So he's like, oh, I didn't didn't do anything, and he pounces at you? And this looked like he's eating you? And he's dying. Why? And you are now below him? Oh, what happened? It looked like he was eating you. Especially this move. This looks like he was shaking you from side to side. It didn't look like you were that injured. Because this is somewhat fine. I don't know where the heart is, if this really works that well. But it would at least put the animal, it would retreat for a bit. Because, danger. Again, you don't look that injured. Again, also, this is the first couple seconds. Let's just take it in. Fair enough. He defeated whatever that is. Good.
スラムでの生活、親の顔はどんなだったか。
So this is our main character. I'm assuming this is the guy that also defeated Wolfie Boy. Oh. I'm assuming these teeth are from the wolf that he uses as buttons.
毎日腹が減って仕方がなかった。命を懸け金にその日のパンを稼いだ。バカにされたくない。もっとうまいものが食べたい。もっと強くなりたい。もっと。
Okay.
もっと。走って。
So where is his pipe coming from?
走って。走って。
That is not a wolf, is it? No, probably not. Maybe a pig?
走って。ある時ふともう腹が空いてないことに気づいた。さて今日ものんびり働きますか。
Daily life of a single 29-year-old adventurer. Okay. We have a little child there. Okay, so we take someone in. I assume it would go, it goes most of the time in two ways. One, we start being a late game or late age adventurer. Get our group together, get like romance interest in that group. Or we take in some children. Here it makes sense to take in children. Mostly because, he had a hard upbringing, maybe taking in some children and help them not have the same upbringing. Seeing a man and a little girl meet. Questionable title, but sure.
なんじゃ、ご機嫌じゃな、はじめば。
ああ。
I'm assuming this is not the little girl.
おはようばあちゃん。
なんぞいいことでもあったんか。
別になんもねえけどね。そういや膝の具合はどうだ。
お前さんが取ってきてくれた薬草のおかげで、ほれ、この通りじゃ。
無理すんなよ。
ありがとね、はじめぼ。こんな名もない田舎に来てくれて、みんな感謝してるよ。冒険者に頼みたい仕事があってもいい加減なやつや乱暴者も多いからね。ほんと助かってるよ。
ならよかった。
Okay. Many of them are, selfish or violent, which could be interesting. I can definitely see that if you go and you get called to some kind of village somewhere else, that, you have a lot of power, you are very strong, you are there to do something, and maybe you want to get a little bit more. It's the whole thing of, let's say, you get attacked by some goblins. Adventurer comes out. He's like, okay, I'm going to clear the goblins. You get like 3 gold. And they're like, how about you give me a little bit of jewelry as a little bonus? So I'm going out to do this right now. Or maybe, what about, a woman? These kinds of things, because they could be like, no, we are not. you get sent back and they have to wait for another adventurer to come out. So there is some power that can be abused, which could be interesting idea for a story. How you would structure that, I don't know. But maybe like the Adventurers Guild has someone who is investigating these kinds of situations. Could be interesting. Could be interesting. Like they were saying, violent. It is very hard to police adventurers, I assume. Again, could have been an interesting idea.
村に着くならいい子世話するよ。マリアンヌとかどうだい？
Do we see who Marianne is? I feel like she's also a granny. Who's Marianne?
アキラじいさん。
なに、おお、はじめ坊じゃねえか。
ゆっくりしてたとこ悪いな。肉取りにダンジョンに入るぜ。
ああ、じゃあここにサインしてくれな。
Okay, dungeon.
そうか、新鮮な肉が入るのか。今日は飲みに行くかね。
ばあちゃんに怒られないようにしろよ。
おう、気をつけてな。
A lot of old people at this point.
あれ
So we have a system where you have like a receptionist for the dungeon. Okay. You get fresh meat from the dungeon. This is always not necessarily isekai, but you know, fantasy anime or shows in this Japanese shows, they like to use dungeons a lot. If you have dungeons in the world, that is, for like getting materials. It's always like, oh, you have a dungeon, a town grows around it because you can go into the dungeon, you can get materials, you can get valuables, you can get meat, whatever. And you don't want to get rid of the dungeon because you would lose all of those parts of the dungeon. Now, in many shows, the dungeon never gets really explained. It just happens. You do have shows like Delicious in Dungeon. They make a lot of effort to explain how the dungeon works, which is very, very interesting. But most shows are like, yo, it's a dungeon, it has a dungeon core, the dungeon core has magic, magic happens, monster, bam.
どうして扉が開いてたんだ？サインは俺の名前だけだったんだ。
I mean, someone is in here. We also know that you are going to meet a little girl, so it's the little girl you are going to meet. Simple. That was pretty quick. And those slimes looks like a Muppet.
うわー！ちょガキじゃねえか！死んでねえだろうな、おい！
おお、助かったのだ。
のんきか！
恐ろしい敵であった。
最弱モンスターなんだが。
お兄さんは命の恩人なのだ。名を聞いてもいいのだ。
Do you have this old-timey way to talk? It sounds those old-timey ways.
でもいいのだ。リルイはリルイっていうのだ。
東雲はじめだ。
おお、名字持ちなのだ。名のある冒険者なの。
Sounds like some kind of princess or queen or whatever, or king talking about someone else. Talking in the third person, which I believe is normal for little children in Japan. But at some point they switch off that.
当たり前だクソガキ！管理人無視してダンジョン入ってんじゃねえ！
だって気持ちよさそうに寝てたのだ、おじいちゃん。
起こしちゃいいんだよそんなもん！大体なんでガキ一人で入ってんだ？親はどうした？親は！
捨てられたのだ。リルイは一人で生きていくのだ。
It this town doesn't feel that big. It's like a very small town in comparison. I feel like you would know someone abandoning their child. Unless they came from outside. Again, under the assumption this town is not very big. There are not a lot of people going into the dungeon, as we have seen. The receptionist is very old. We saw an old lady. There's no adventurers guild or anything in here. So I assume that everyone knows each other, more or less. This is one of those. It's a little bit, difficult, but these, smaller cities, communes, whatever, everyone knows each other, which means that there's a pretty good, everyone knows what other people are doing. There is some kind of, togetherness in these smaller villages, which means if you come from outside, it's very hard to get in. But if you are in, then there's normally a lot of help coming around. Everyone is helping each other. So if this is as small as that, where everyone knows each other, is probably unlikely that someone abandoned their child.
村の人間じゃないよな、お前。
商人の荷物。
Okay. So from outside makes more sense. Which puts into question if she ever got really abandoned or not, or she just fled. Because this does not look like someone abandoned.
お前。
商人の荷物に隠れてきたのだ。
村民じゃねえなら村の孤児院は使えねえな。よくて村を追い出されてスラム行き。
Again, if you come from outside, very hard to get in. I would assume the orphanage would still take them in normally, but if you have an orphanage, then the city is probably bigger than I originally assumed.
ま、よくある話か。
どこへ行くのだ、はじめ。
呼び捨てかい。肉取りに行くんだよ。
猫。
ついてくんなよ。お前の分なんかねえし。
わかってるのだ。リルイに同情はいらないのだ。だがダンジョンで一人は危ないぞ。リルイが仲間になってやろうか。
最弱モンスターに負けるやつはちょっと。
あれはたまたまちょっと失敗しただけなのだ。リルイは役に立つぞ、はじめ。
おお、いたいた。お前の声の方がでけえよ。ああ、でけえ方じゃねえだけ上等だ上等。じゃあま、そこでじっとしてろよ。
Where's that weapon coming from? Is that some kind of magic tool? Yeah, just put her in a river to clean, I guess.
ちょっとびっくりして失敗したのだ。
そうかい。結構。
It is interesting that she did not have the same reaction to the slime, which is as tall as her.
タフな精神してるのね。
そいつまだ生きているのだ。
ああ、死ぬ気しねえと肉の味が落ちるからな。心臓動いてた方が綺麗に血が抜けるんだよ。
That is a little bit insane. I mean, sure, he is right, but having more or less bleed them out instead of killing them a little bit questionable.
そう
Now, the other problem is, as far as I know, you bleed them out near the river because, you know, the river transports the blood. You don't let it seep into the ground or whatever. The river is flowing into the direction of the girl. So if the blood goes into the river, then she is now going to be bathed in blood, which is a little bit questionable.
ああ死ぬ気しねえと肉の味が落ちるからおはあ
依頼達成おめでとうございます。
Are you Marianne?
さて頼むわオリーブちゃん
Oliver, okay. I see. Because of the green? Sure.
助かります。東雲さんのお肉は臭くないって評判で。
Why is the girl in here?
困りますよ。ギルドで人の売買は。
あいやそいつは
村の外の孤児ですか。それだと村の教会の孤児院は使えないですね。
まあそうだよな豚飯食わせる余裕はどこにもないわなおじゃあ俺ちょっと散歩してくれんでさてはゆっくりしちゃってて
はい
余裕はどこにもないわな
草取らないと
What are we doing?
美味しい野菜ができないんだよ。
Oh, he's just... I'm assuming this is the orphanage, and he's just going to check if they would take her in.
野菜じゃなくて肉食いてよ肉。こんにちは。
あチャス最近この村で仕事してる冒険者です
ああ、噂の冒険者さんね。いい人が来たって聞いてるわ。
ああ恐縮です
それで冒険者さんが一体お祈りかしら。
あいやその散歩の途中でして
ん
やっぱり生活は苦しいっすか
まあそうですね。献金や村の皆様のご厚意で何とかやってますが、決して楽だとは言えませんね。
そりゃそうっすよね例えばの話なんですが毎月いくらかこの教会に肉とか寄付をしたとしましてあれくらいの子供をもう一人くらい養えたりしますか
そうね。季節ごとの着るものに毛布やベッドに日用品、食器や椅子に毎日の食事、教育に
Every season they need clothes. They're growing, fine. A blanket and bedding. Okay. Daily necessities,
毛布やベッド
understandable.
に日用品、食器や
Everywhere share daily food.
椅子に毎日の
Some of these are one time only though.
食事、教育に手が
Education and treatment when they are hurt or sick. Education? I'm assuming you would take care of
病
that.
気をした時の治療。肉だけってあなた、狼の子じゃあるまいし。
そうっすよね
So he was like, hey, can you take her in? I give you some meat. The problem with that is this is not anything binding. You could just disappear at one point. You could die. No more meat. So we have an extra mouse to feed without anyone providing. Lots of downsides for this arrangement.
あなたの子供かしら？
いや
違うの？では誰か知り合いの？
いえ
村のどなたかの？
いや今日たまたま会った村の外の子です
あなたの人を思う大きな愛は大変素晴らしい。本当に素晴らしいのですが、神ではない我々の手では 見解がございまして。
I never question that. But were there orphanages in the Middle Ages? Middle Age orphanage were rare, with care usually provided by the church, monastery, or local family. Early institutions, often called hospitals or foundling homes, appeared sporadically from 780 AD, later in the Renaissance. So supposedly rare. Because you would need someone to provide the money to care for the children. And it's always like in a little village, sure, you are helping your neighbor. However, it's most of the time by, providing another set of hands instead of, offering them the limited resources you have, which is like meat, food generally, money if you even have some. It makes sense that an orphanage probably not something. The problem is an orphanage is a very orphanage is more or less a resource drain. You don't get anything out of an orphanage really in the grand scheme, as if you see it as like a king. So we have like all these children, they don't have a home. Now you house them in an orphanage, you care for them, they grow up. Now you have more people that are grown up that do not have any land. They do not have a skill they trained in. They are most likely not going to be now you don't know that, maybe. I don't know how advanced medical science was, but you most likely don't feed them well. So they don't grow up to be strong. So there are not that many upsides caring for them apart from the morality. So it's probably better to not have something like an orphanage and essentially let them being dealt with outside. Again, if you really look at it without any morals, not many upsides, a lot of downsides. Not even talking about all the money you spend that could have been spent on anything else. I mean, even taking less taxes, which probably would be similar in cost and would reduce people being abandoned, would probably do the same. Again, don't really see many upsides.
そりゃそうだよな。助けたいで助けられれば誰も苦労しねえ。
Apart from the church, I could see upsides for the church. To have more people working for the church. You can indoctrinate them very early on. Prepare them for church work. Instead of having someone who lived outside, more or less lived the way the outside world lives, and then try to get them to convert into the whatever belief system you have, is going to be a lot harder than just taking them in as a child.
みんな生きていくのに懸命で。だからどうしたってつかめる手のひらは限られちまう。それだけの話だ。
東雲さん。
お？あれいるじゃん。
こっちにリルイちゃん来てないですか？
いや、来てないぞ。
So she's back in the dungeon.
いなくなったのか？
ずっと椅子に座っておとなしくしていたんですけど、緊急の依頼を受けてたらいつの間にか。
緊急の依頼？
ええ、マーティンさんの畑に大きな糞が落ちてまして。
どうやら裏山に魔獣がいるようだと。
リルイは一人で生きていくのだ。
まさかあのバカ。
東雲さん。
She wasn't even able to stand up to the boar. What is she expecting to do against the Morpheus monster? I'm assuming it's her like, hey, if I defeat this monster, then I'm going to be part of this village kind of thing, and people take me in. Maybe.
日が沈む。暗くなったら探せねえぞ。なんでじっとしてねえんだ。いや、まあわかるけどよ。じっとしてたら飢えて死ぬもんな。食うために命かけるしかねえもんな。いた、相手は山狼か。おいガキ、かかってくるのだ。逃げろバカ。
Where's the weapon coming from? He just put it out somewhere. Right? Didn't have it before? No. He did have some magic to that.
何考えてるんだバカ。最弱モンスターにも負けるくせしやがって。
I also feel like she did not get abandoned. She looks far too good. We saw someone who really got abandoned in him. And, you know, no clothes, just some rags. Yeah, you know what you can do if you need something to eat, not fight monster. Healing is one of the easiest ways. Danger varies. But nature is not as, you know, murderous, so you can steal from nature, can eat berries, not necessarily mushrooms. You can eat fish. There are some ways to try and survive instead of monster meat.
くそ。なんでこんな。最悪だ。ああ、うるせえぞ。俺の仲間になるなら泣くな。ほら、解体の仕方教えてやる。こっち来て手伝え。さっさと解体して村で配るんだよ。これからお世話になりますってな。呼び捨てにすんな。
So he's taking her in again. If you look at it objectively, not really much of an upside. Now you can train them and have something like a child, because one of the only upsides you have is you at some point you are going to be old and you need someone who is going to take over, you know, hunting and stuff. So having a child, a protege, so to say, makes sense. To have someone who can then hunt later, can take care of you for a little bit. Makes a lot of sense. This also makes a lot of sense. You thought it was very rare at the time. I don't know how often people were able to preserve meat. I don't know if that was a common thing for generally meat. I do believe this was something that happened, a lot more, because you can't, if you have like a pig, you have a farm, you have cattle, you have a pig, and you decide, okay, we slaughter one of the pigs because we have too many, it's winter time, whatever. You can't eat all the meat, so that is where you then go to the neighbor and you start trading meat. You are like, here we have a X amount of meat. Maybe they can give you some eggs, some wheat, whatever they have. Or it could also be like you give away some meat, and whenever their harvest comes around in spring, they then give you a little bit of their produce, and you have this, more or less community going. So this is not that uncommon. I mean, this is more or less where barbecue comes from, right?
大丈夫なんですか？見ず知らずの子を仲間にして。
Who's Marianne? She Marianne?
お人よし、甘いやつ。そういった評価は死活問題だ。甘やかすのはここまでだ。仲間になった以上は厳しく。こらリルイ、お前それ山狼の一番うまいとこじゃねえか。
おお、はじめ、山狼うまいな。
I mean, this looks the same.
ナタリーちゃんこっちもビール。
Who's Marianne? We got told of a potential love interest. Don't see her at all.
難しいことはしこたま飲んで食って寝たと考えよう。
Also, I wonder, he went into the dungeon, he caught some, a boar, whatever, for meat. Couldn't he just hunt more? He seemingly is able to hunt more than one monster. Now, he needs to prepare or, cut it open, get rid of the blood, yada, yada, yada. Probably prepare the meat, then sell it. But I feel like he could have gotten a second animal every day if needed.
だろうと思っていたのだが。
What are you dreaming of?
はじめ。
What the fuck?
なんか大きくなっ
What the fuck?
たのだ。
What the what?
あれ、戻ったのだ。
I didn't. I had an idea where the show was going. He takes her in. She's going to be like a daughter figure. He's maybe going to be romantically interested in some Marianne or whatever. And maybe we start a family, maybe not. He goes hunting. She comes with him. He's training her. Yada yada. Simple. This I had not on my mind, that she can transform into an adult version. Again, I don't know if she ever got abandoned. Is she a child that just grows up every now and then? Or gets big? Or was she big and she just got cursed to be small?
ああ、お前。
Because this is,
大きくなったのだ。
this is very questionable. This is very questionable. This is where we get into some interesting concepts of. There are a lot of shows in, especially animes, which have like high schooler, whatever. someone around 16, 17, you know, in that age bracket. Maybe sometimes even younger, 15, 14. And then there's like, you know, they have like a romance aspect or they have fan service. And it's always like, you know, as a viewer, it's like, these are drawings, they are made, essentially the age is just made up. Sometimes, naturally, you have a character that feels that age, looks that age, fine. Then you have the characters that look 20, 25, but they are 16, supposedly, even though they don't feel like 16. And then you have the characters that looks like 10 and is like 9,000 years lolly vampire. So ages don't really make a lot of sense. This is an interesting conundrum. For me, it is mostly about mental age, not necessarily of the body age. That doesn't mean that if someone is 9,000 years old, that they are 9,000 years old in mental age. ReZero, as example, Emilia is 100 or something plus years old. But she spent a lot of her time frozen, so she's not really mentally that old. Because in this case, what age do you take into consideration? The mental age? We assume she's a child, so like 8. Even though she now, in this instant, has a mature body, she's still 8 mentally, which is what I would consider the most important aspect, mental age. Or do you go for body age? Because mentally she is 8, but the body is like probably supposed to be 16, 17. Could be 20, could be 25. Not much difference. And if you know, but she's still a child inside. Again, that is where naturally it's always, oh yeah, both ages matter, but we have a dissonance here. Unless she's older than we assume. She does have the old-timey speak, which means I could see her being like someone who got imprisoned somewhere and she's also like 1,000 years. Again, that's just a tangent as always. Because this is in Isekai especially, where you have, this character, he was 30 years before and he should not be going after younger characters, which in Mushoku Tensei, one of the points why people don't like Rudy. On the other hand, in Oshinoko, people are celebrating the doctor who was 30 plus years old, going potentially after someone who is half his age. You know, dichotomy of anime fanbase.
あれ戻ったのだ。
ああ、お前。
So she's one of the ancient species. I thought she is just magical. What benefit has it that you can... Now, it could be like that you are in a in Shide version because you need less food, you are smaller, you don't need as much space, and whenever you need to fight, you can grow up.
私初めて見ました。
多分だけどな。
Why are there cigarettes? We never explained why there was even a pipe.
どんな種族な
What the fuck are you? Oh, she's one. You don't know, and he's just. I guess she's an ancient species. And which
種
kind?
族なんですか？
Get huge boobs. Wow. He does have fangs, right? Maybe she's a vampire. Vampires can transform into bats sometimes. So this could be vampire.
声がでかかった。 おっぱいがでかかった。ナタリーちゃんも大きそうだけど、こいつも負けてなかったぜ。
Yeah, you don't say that. I mean, it explains why you are still single.
いい反応するよな。にしてもよく食うなお前。冒険者の流儀、働かねえなら飢えて死ねだぜ。
今日はいっぱい働くから大丈夫なのだ。
どこからその自
Nanoda.
信が。
I don't know. Is Nanoda? Nanoda is a child way to speak, right? Did I mix it up? I'm not Japanese. Go figure. Nanoda. Yes, that is a child way, right?
古代種ですか。ご報告あり。
I don't know if I would have reported that. I feel like this word could have slavery.
ありがとうございます。で、特徴はどのような。
Don't say big boobs.
おっぱいがでかかった。
それは大人の体に変化したということでしょうか。
チェ
つまんねえみたいな顔しない。
Now she also is like an elf, so
みたいな顔しない。
ああ、リルイ。そういえば大人になった時何かしたのか。大きくなりたいと思ってたとか。
お肉食べたいと思ってたかな。
散々食ってたろ。
それは関係なさそうですね。わかりました。こちらで調べておきますね。
ああ、よろしく。
さて、本日は何をなさいますか？村周りの野草集めはいかがでしょうか？リーズナブルで村人も大喜びですし、ぜひ。
いや、その仕事も重要なんだけど、まずこいつを戦いに慣れさせねえと。
まあ、それもそうですね。
I'm just wondering why money or herb collecting. I mean, sure, fighting is important, but it's also important to be able to just do jobs because you could then split your work. She could gather herbs, which probably lower difficulty, lower danger. Meanwhile, he can go into the dungeon and defeat the boar or
でした
whatever.
らスライム素材の納品とかでしょうか？錬金術で使いますので、常に買い取り中です。
だとよ。今日のお前の仕事だ。
おお、任せるのだ。今宵のリルイソードは血に飢えているのだ。
まだ朝だぜ。
気をつけるのだ、はじめ。昨日リルイを食べようとしたモンスターがいるのだ。
あれ、今日のお前の敵な。敵、お前の。
いきなりライバルとの決戦は早すぎる気がするのだ。
ライバルってお前、あいつ超弱えし。あれに勝てねえなら冒険者なんてとてもとても。
大丈夫なのだ。全然リルイ倒せるのだ。
おお、そうかい。だったらまず。
お前なんか怖くねえのだ。ぶっ殺してやれ。
おい
Zero tactic, all brawn. I do wonder how slimes get defeated. In most shows, they have like a nucleus you need to hit, which makes them very difficult to defeat if you don't know.
あのな、リルイ。
リルイ、ちょっと向こう水だったのだ。
おお、分かってるじゃねえか。まずは人の話を聞け。
Why are you not telling her how to defeat the
人
slime?
の話は聞かねえけど
Okay.
頑張るね。
Never mind.
しかしタフなガキンチョだぜ。親に捨てられたのによく笑うし、よく食うし。
Still feel like she did not get abandoned. Especially if she is like a ancient species or something rare. Because I feel like even if, let's say we have a middle age kind of thing where slavery is something that can happen, which I assume does, even if it's not officially, having a rare species, I feel like you can make a lot of money with. So instead of abandoning someone, you could sell them off. As dark as it sounds, it feels a lot more useful. Because it's always like people have a different, they have different feelings. If you tell someone, okay, you know, she got abandoned, people are like, oh, abandonment, that's not nice. But if you were to say she got sold off to someone, people have a very strong reaction to that. To the abandonment, not as strong. So it's very interesting. Again, it would make more sense to at least make some money off her instead of just abandoning her, if you already go that far.
意外と冒険者向きなのかもな。
That is why I don't believe she got abandoned, but we will see.
またちょっと失敗したのだ。
そうか。よし。昼飯にす。
Time for lunch? And she's not getting any food, is she? Because who is the one who does not work does not eat.
はいなのだ。
ああ、いい景色だな。なんつうか、心が休まる感じ？風景なんて興味なかったけど、いいもんだよな。俺、半分ずつだぜ。ナタリーちゃん特製のグミ飲みパンだ。
Silverberry.
今日はリルイ、お昼いいのだ。
あ？なんでだ？
リルイ、今日はちょっと働けなかったから、だからはじめが全部食べるのだ。
そうか、こいつ。自分はもうちょっとできると思ってたのか。なのに予想以上にできなくて、飯をもらうのが怖くなったんだ。少しはできると思ってたから、飯だってバクバク食べられた。笑う余裕もあった。なのに、予想以上に自分は役立たずだった。また捨てられるかもしれない。こいつは今、必死にアピールしてるんだ。捨てないでくださいと。
Now you make it sound really, really sad. Come on. She only got abandoned, which makes it feel a lot more real that she may have been abandoned, seen as extra baggage. I mean, she was not listening to you. If she listens to you, she should be able to defeat slimes, I guess, maybe?
こういう時どうすればいいんですか？俺の人生主に食う寝る戦うだけだったんですけど。それができたら俺は今頃詐欺で食ってる。いいから食え。
いいですのだ。
だよな。無理やり口に突っ込むか。知るかよ。俺はこいつの親じゃねえし。冒険者の流儀だ。働かねえなら飢えて死ねえ。昼飯は抜きでいいんだな。
今のは違うのだ。
おう、じゃあダンジョンに戻るぞ。
はじめのお昼は？
仲間の流儀だ。仲間ほっぽって一人だけ腹を満たせるか。
でも
リルイ、こうなったらさっさとスライム倒して二人で飯にするぞ。 いいか、まずはよく観察だ。お前と戦ってた時と違うところがあるだろ
It looks very derpy.
目が体の中に沈んでいるのだ。
う。その通りだ。スライムの弱点は知ってるか？
足。
目だよ、目。足ってどこだよ。
でもリルイが攻撃しようとするとすぐにビシャッとやられるのだ。
リルイ、スライムが目を出すのは音がした時だ。そしたら静かに近づいてぶっ殺せ。
やった。
Okay. I don't know what she attacked. The eyes looked intact, but sure. I mean, okay. So instead of having a nucleus, it's the eyes that are the danger. So I assume the slime is mostly eyes. And the goo around that is just held together by some kind of magic. Maybe. This is all, you know, where you can do some word building. You could be like, slimes don't really eat. They're more or less like, not amoeba. Don't remember what they were called in the fish tanks that, you know, eat all the more or less dirt. So slimes are similar to that maybe, and they just eat dirt.
リルイもやるもんなのだ。
Was one slime enough, or?
調子乗ってな。
ナタリーちゃんの作ったパン、美味しいな。はじめ。いくらでもいけるのだ。
ちょっと信用してもらえたかね。
ごめんなさい。古代種の件まだ調べ終わってないんです。
あらら、珍しい。
村長さんにお昼に呼ばれちゃいまして。
ああ、じゃあしゃあない。
リルイはスライム倒せたのだ。おめでとうございます。あら、仲良しさんですね。
うわあ、忘れてた。話せねえのや。
やなのだ。親子みたいですね。
Do you find out why she grows up?
あら、これかしら。深夜、こうなせる体までの一足飛びの成長。
Already sounds annoying.
サキュバス。
What the fuck? Really? Succubus? This went from to okay. Because before we had this, you know, it's like what age is more important. Now you have a succubus?
大丈夫かしら、東雲さん。ここに。
This took a very weird turn. Normally, you know, I'm not as sensitive as other people. I grew up in, you know, 2000s. I've seen a lot of weird and also horrifying stuff. So I don't really care too much about stuff like Mushoku Tensei or, you know, whatever weird stuff is going on. This, however, is a little bit more strange. We see her in her child body, which is like 8 or whatever. And she grows up into a mature body because she's a succubus. Now, we don't know what a succubus does in this fantasy setting. But normally they are not the, oh, I'm just going to lie next to you and that's enough. It may be that she just drains some of his magic energy. It may be that she is, you know, invading his dreams. There are a lot of different ways succubus are portrayed. It may also be the one that goes further, which is a little bit questionable then. It may also be that the child body has a child mind, while the mature body has a mature mind for some reason. A lot of ways this can go. A lot of them are weird. Because again, she is a child most of the time. And she did not really get portrayed as someone more mature. Because sometimes you do have a character, again, these 9,000-year-old vampires, who at least they also act mature somewhat. It may also be that she is some kind of princess. Again, that took a turn for the weird. And depending on what the succubus does, essentially, she would have brought in even more money. Just saying, if you sold her. But I guess we will have to wait for next episode. It definitely took a somewhat weird turn.